Now I'm actually going to disagree with part of this book in front of y'all. What? Hey everyone, Britta Albert here. If this is your first time here, I'm a spiritual transformational life coach. It's my goal for this channel to help you overcome the obstacles that are standing in the way of you living your best and most authentic life. In today's video, we're carrying on with our series of the book trilogy, Conversations with God by Neale Donald Walsch. In this video, I pick up where we left off on a little bit of chapter 60 because it plays into chapter 61, of course, and makes a little bit more sense to pick up that last couple seconds. So if you hear a repeat, that's why. Now, when I do these videos, I like to play a clip of the audiobook for you. Now, there's a specific reason why I do this. At the end of the video, I'll be giving my take on the passage that we just listened to. But the reason that I want you to hear it for yourself is because I want you to decide what resonates as truth for you based upon where you're at and what your beliefs are. So without further ado, I give you Conversations with God.
The irony is that most people think they have to leave where they are to get where they want to be. And so they leave heaven in order to get to heaven and go through hell. Enlightenment is understanding that there is nowhere to go, nothing to do, and nobody you have to be except exactly who you're being right now. You are on a journey to nowhere. Heaven, as you call it, is nowhere. Let's just put some space between the W and the H in that word, and you'll see that heaven is now, here.
Everyone says that. It's driving me crazy. If heaven is now here, how come I don't see that? Why don't I feel that? And why is the world in such a mess?
I understand your frustration. It's almost as frustrating trying to understand all this as it is trying to get someone to understand it.
Whoa, wait a minute. Are you trying to say to me that God gets frustrated?
Who do you suppose invented frustration? And do you imagine that you can experience something I cannot? I tell you this, every experience you have, I have. Do you not see I am experiencing myself through you? What else do you suppose all this is for? I could not know myself were it not for you. I created you that I might know who I am. Now, I would not shatter all of your illusions about me in one moment, so I will tell you that in my most sublime form, which you call God, I do not experience frustration.
Well, that's better. You scared me there for a minute.
But that's not because I can't. It's simply because I don't choose to. You can make the same choice, by the way.
Well, frustrated or not, I still wonder how it can be that heaven is right here and I don't experience it.
You cannot experience what you don't know. And you don't know you are in heaven right now because you have not experienced it. You see, for you, it's a vicious circle. You have not found a way yet to experience what you do not know, and you do not know what you have not experienced. What enlightenment asks you to do is to know something you have not experienced and thus experience it. Knowing opens the door to experience, and you imagine it's the other way around. Actually, you know a great deal more than you have experience. You simply don't know that you know. You know that there is a God, for instance, but you may not know that you know that. So you keep waiting around for the experience. And all the while, you keep having it. Yet you are having it without knowing, which is like not having it at all.
Boy, we're going around in circles here.
Yes, we are. And instead of going around in circles, perhaps we should be the circle itself. This doesn't have to be a vicious circle. It can be a sublime one.
Okay, a question then. Is renunciation a part of the truly spiritual life?
Yes, because ultimately all spirit renounces what is not real, and nothing in the life you lead is real, save your relationship with me. Yet renunciation, in the classic sense of self-denial, is not required. A true master does not give up something. A true master simply sets it aside, as he would do with anything for which he no longer has any use. There are those who say you must overcome your desires. I say you must simply change them. The first practice feels like a rigorous discipline. The second, a joyful exercise. There are those who say that to know God you must overcome all earthly passions. Yet to understand and accept them is enough. What you resist persists. What you look at disappears. Those who seek so earnestly to overcome all earthly passions often work at it so hard that it might be said this has become their passion. They have a passion for God, a passion to know Him. But passion is passion, and to trade one for the other does not eliminate it. Therefore, judge not that about which you feel passionate. Simply notice it, then see if it serves you, given who and what you wish to be. Remember, you are constantly in the act of creating yourself. You are in every moment deciding who and what you are. You decide this largely through the choices you make
regarding who and what you feel passionate about. Often a person on what you call a spiritual path looks like he has renounced all earthly passion, all human desire. What he has done is understand it, see the illusion, and step aside from the passions that do not serve him, all the while loving the illusion for what it has brought to him, the chance to be wholly free. Passion is the love of turning being into action. It fuels the engine of creation. It changes concepts to experience. Passion is the fire that drives us to express who we really are. Never deny passion, for that is to deny who you are and who you truly want to be. The renunciate never denies passion. The renunciate simply denies attachment to results. Passion is a love of doing. Doing is being, experienced. Yet what is often created as part of doing? Expectation. To live your life without expectation, without the need for specific results, that is freedom. That is godliness. That is how I live.
You are not attached to results?
Absolutely not. My joy is in the creating, not in the aftermath. Renunciation is not a decision to deny action. Renunciation is a decision to deny a need for a particular result. There's a vast difference.
Could you explain what you mean by the statement, passion is the love of turning being into action?
Beingness is the highest state of existence. It is the purest essence. It is the now, not now, the all, not all, the always, never aspect of God. Pure being is pure God-ing. Yet it has never been enough for us to simply be. We have always yearned to experience what we are, and that requires a whole other aspect of divinity called doing. Let us say that you are, at the core of your wonderful self, that aspect of divinity called love. This is, by the way, the truth of you. Now, it is one thing to be love, and quite another thing to do something loving. The soul longs to do something about what it is, in order that it might know itself in its own experience. So it will seek to realize its highest idea through action. This urge to do this is called passion. Kill passion and you kill God. Passion is God wanting to say, hi. But you see, once God, or God in you, does that loving thing, God has realized itself and needs nothing more. Man, on the other hand, often feels he needs a return on his investment. If we're going to love somebody, fine, but we better get some love back. That sort of thing. This is not passion. This is expectation. This is the greatest source of man's unhappiness. It is what separates man from God. The renunciate seeks to end this separation through the experience some Eastern mystics have called samadhi. That is, oneness and union with God, a melding with and melting into divinity. The renunciate therefore renounces results, but never ever renounces passion. Indeed, the master knows intuitively that passion is the path. It is the way to self-realization. Even in earthly terms, it can be fairly said that if you have a passion for nothing, you have no life at all.
Can you guys empathize with Neale? At the beginning of this passage, he starts expressing some frustration. And he says, if heaven is now here, why are things so messed up? And I think that is a very valid question. It's something that most people would ask God. If we are currently living in heaven, if heaven is now here, why are things the way that they are? It's arguable that that's not true. And God's response is, you cannot experience what you do not know. Now, for me, I hate getting these really vague answers to things. I don't know if you guys are the same way or not, but I hate it when I'm given an answer to a question that I have, and the answer is something like, you already have it within you, or you already know what this is, and you have this memory with it. Something like that. It's like super vague that puts it back on me. Now, I'm not saying that's not true, but I am saying it's frustrating. When I'm looking for an answer and I'm given something that's really vague, I understand that it can be a really deep answer that's multi-leveled. And so sometimes the vagueness is what makes you draw into yourself and start asking yourself these questions. But what I usually do when I get some sort of answer like that is I say, okay, well, if it's already within me, then help me remember. Help me remember what I don't remember. Help me remember what I already know. And you'll find that you get a lot more in-depth answers that way. But one of the things that I wanted to touch on real quick before we continue is where God was saying to Neale that you cannot experience that which you don't know. And it made me think about something when it comes to this concept of people choosing to have a relationship with God or not have a relationship with God. And this concept that, yes, we understand and we agree that we have free will, but there's this idea that you can choose to turn away from God or not have a relationship with God. I think for somebody who would choose that, ultimately what that means is that they never experienced it to begin with. The point is, if you think about God's wholeness and God's love, it's not possible to choose something else. So if somebody chooses to turn away from God, understand that they never felt that love to begin with. Even if they thought they did. How many times did you think that you were in love when you were a kid? I know I had my first crush when I wasn't even in kindergarten. I was probably like 4 years old, preschool. And I thought that I was going to marry this little neighbor boy. I had no concept of what love was. I had no concept of what a relationship was. I had no concept of any of that. But I believed in that moment that I was in love. And then later, I had my first boyfriend in middle school, and I believed I was in love, and I believed I was going to marry him. Didn't happen. Why? Because I had no idea of what it really was. So you can't experience something that you don't know. So how do we know something so that we can experience it? Well, that's where that kind of vagueness was coming from. The knowing that you know, but you might not know that you know. And can that be okay? Because ultimately, that's part of the human experience. It is a source of suffering for us to not understand that we know something, so therefore we don't experience it. But can that be okay? Because if you remembered everything that you knew, there'd be no point to this human experience. There'd be no point to this human existence. You would literally cease to exist because the game would be over. So at some point, can we let go of control and the need to know so that we can experience this and just have compassion for each other and understand that that might not be where somebody is at, that they may never experience it in this lifetime because they didn't come here to experience it. They came here to experience something else or to participate in something else or just to create their life in general. You are here to create. You create your life. So is it okay? Can you be okay with the fact that you might not remember everything that you already know? Because to do that, this game would be pointless. I heard one time that enlightenment is like seeing a mountain, and then the mountain ceases to exist. And then you see the mountain once more. With that, it's because we have this perception. Think of the mountain as being in victim mode. Life is happening to me. I don't have a say over this. I don't have control over this. And then you understand that the mountain actually doesn't exist because none of this is actually real. I have control. I am creating my life. And when you come into this understanding that you are creating your life, then the mountain appears again. Then the mountain exists again, because then you go back to living. We get on this spiritual path and we look for enlightenment, we look for a relationship with God, and we look for the meaning of life, or whatever drives you down this questioning. And it's a necessary journey, don't get me wrong. But we end back on the path again, where we're still living our lives and we're still experiencing things as our human. And we go back to living. Only it's different this time. Instead of living your life and having no control over anything, and having fear and anxiety and guilt, oh my gosh, the guilt. Instead of living life that way and hoping for the best and working really hard to try to be this person, this perfect person that you're never gonna be, and making yourself feel terrible because you're always gonna set yourself up for failure, that is before you go on the journey. When you see the mountain again, so to speak, you're still on this journey. You're still a human. You're still living life. You're still eating every day. You still go to sleep every night. You still have interactions with people, right? You still have a job. You still pursue whatever your passion is. Only this time you do it with confidence, with peace, with joy, without fear, because you understand the game. Now, I'm actually going to disagree with part of this book in front of y'all. What? I know, right? Just because I'm doing this series does not mean I'm held to this standard that I have to agree with everything that's in this book. Why do I play these passages for you? What do I say at the beginning of every single video? I want you to hear it for yourself, so that way you can decide what resonates as truth for you. And not everything in this book resonates as truth for me. Does it mean that those things are untrue? No. Does it mean I'm right? No. Does it mean the book's right? No. The book is written through the lens of Neale Donald Walsch. Any person who channels a writing, it's not even a writing, just any person who channels, which is all of us, by the way. Every time you channel, the information is coming through, processing through this interpretive computer that is your mind, and is being processed in a way that is reflective of your experiences, your language, your cultural experiences, the way that your family is, the way you're raised, the religion that you have, whatever factors make you you, it's coming through the filter of you. You're never going to find somebody that you resonate with 100%. Even if they're your best friend, even if they're your spouse, your mentor, don't hold people on a pedestal that makes them not human, okay? Including me. So yes, there are parts of this book that I don't resonate with. But the more that I experience in my life, my opinions might change, and can that be okay? In 10 years from now, am I gonna believe the same things that I believe now? No, I can tell you for certain, no. I'm gonna have more life experiences. Things are gonna happen that are gonna change my opinions as I learn more information. I used to think that it was just ghosts and angels and demons and nothing more. I experienced more. I learned more and found out, holy crap, there's way more to this than I ever knew. And the more we learn, what's the classic saying? The more you know you don't know. So, little rant aside, what part of this passage do I not agree with? When God is explaining what passion is, and God talks about how we as humans feel about passion and about showing love. And we can say, yeah, okay, I'll love somebody fine, but there better be something in it for me. That is not passion, that is expectation. I will say that I do agree with that statement. Initially, though, it really triggered me. Why? Why did it trigger me? Because I do understand that when we have relationships with people, there needs to be a balance. There's a balance between the divine feminine and the divine masculine. There's a balance in everything that we do. There's a balance on this extreme and a balance on this extreme, because that's where we get into the center. That's where we become stable. When you are in a relationship with somebody and you are giving and you're giving and you're giving, if you receive nothing back, what happens to that relationship? It falls apart. Why does it fall apart? It's not for your lack of giving. It's for the lack of receiving. And it just is. There must be balance in order for it to be a healthy relationship and healthy dynamic. So when I first heard that, I was really triggered, and I was like, why? Why would God say that that is a weakness of ours when it's very clear that we have to have a balance? If you're going to give, you need to also receive. If you don't receive, that relationship's going to fall apart. And what I felt like God was saying is to give without the expectation of receiving. So here's where it is still true, even though I disagreed with it initially. What I believe that God is saying in this is not to have an unhealthy relationship with somebody where it's giving, giving, and giving, and there's no receiving. If you want to receive love, you put love out into the universe. You love on people. You will receive love back. It just is. When you're putting love out, you're going to receive love back. If you're feeling insecure and you need to feel accepted, put acceptance out into the universe and you'll receive acceptance back. You love yourself and you'll be a self-sustaining fountain. You'll never run dry. So when you have a relationship with God, you're putting love out there. You do expect to receive it. There is an expectation that, yes, I'm putting this out there, I'll receive it back. But here's the thing where I am going to say that the statement God made is not wrong. I just disagreed with the way that it might have been presented. Instead of looking at that person that you're giving love to and expecting love back from them and setting both of you up for failure, you just simply put the love out there and understand that you'll receive it back. And if the only thing in this life that's real is your relationship with God, or just God, then you understand that when you love yourself, or you receive that love from God, that's self-sustaining. You don't need the love from outside. You don't need that person to reciprocate. You already have everything you need within you because you're receiving it as a constant flow just as much as you're putting it out there. I hope that makes sense, what part I disagree with. To be clear, I disagree with the way that it was presented. Initially, I disagreed with it completely because I misunderstood. But the more that I understand that it's just the vocabulary that was slightly off from the way I may have presented it, it doesn't mean that what it is saying is wrong either. So if there's parts that you disagree with, ask yourself, why do you disagree with it? And if at the end of it, you still find you disagree with it, great. That means that you're at least asking questions and you're digging deeper and you're asking yourself, why? Do I merely disagree with something because that's the way that I was raised? Because my parents told me to disagree with it? Because my culture told me to disagree with it? Because society or religion told me to disagree with it? Why do you disagree with it? And if you find that you still disagree with it, great. Because that's your truth and that's where you're at. Expecting somebody to return love to you is not passion, it is expectation. What is the passion then? The passion is, I'm not even going to say it's selfless, because it all comes back to you. There is an expectation because you expect it to come back. If you put love into the universe, you expect it to come back. But what is the intent behind the expectation? Do you expect it to come back because you believe that you're in a place of lack, that you need it? Or do you expect it to come back because that's a natural flow? To just know, yes, I'm putting this love out there to this person. Do I expect it to come back from that person in that form? Not at all. It can come back to me in the form of a puppy running up to me and giving me kisses. It can come in the form of a baby making eye contact with me in the line at a grocery store and laughing and smiling and bringing me joy. It can come in so many forms. So I have an expectation that love's going to come back to me, but I don't have the expectation that I am in lack if it doesn't come from the person that I gave it to. And that is how you get into that flow state and passion, where you can just go out into the world and be you and just love without the expectation that it'll return to you in the same way that you sent it out. I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys are enjoying this series. This is something that is just, I'm enjoying it very much. So even if one person loves it, then that's great. But if you did enjoy it, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Also, comment below. Are there any things about this video that you have questions on? Did it make sense? Do you agree with me and my thoughts, or do you disagree? I want to know. And again, if this is your first time here, or if this is not your first time here and you've watched more than one video and you like it and you're coming back, please hit that subscribe button. Let's continue to grow this community. And if there's somebody in your mind who you think needs to hear this message, go ahead and share this video with them. And let's make a difference, y'all. This is a time of miracles. This is the end of 2020. This has been a challenging year. Let's lift people up right now. They need it more than ever. Spread the love. I love you guys so much, and I will see you next time.